One of the most important things, not just in fideuà, but in any rice dish, is the broth or fumet, okay? With the small fish, the red shrimp, that little broth it leaves there. What I do is take the crabs, the heads, and cook them with the vegetable sofrito. We're going to make the sofrito. We're going to use olive oil. It's a little village we have here in the province of Alicante. We're going to make the fideuà with the broth and everything, just like it's done at home, okay? Let's start by making the sofrito. We've added some onions, tomato, a few carrots, a little bit of pepper, and the ñora. One of the most important things, not just in fideuà, but in any rice dish, is the broth or fumet, okay? Here I have already told you I put 2 small tomatoes, an onion, a small piece of pepper, a small piece of green pepper, a red pepper, and 2 small carrots. And now we'll add the small fish. Once this is sautéed, you'll see what we do with some heads that I have left over from a carpaccio I made yesterday. We made a carpaccio, and I've saved the leftover heads for the broth. Later, you'll see what a wonderful broth we make. We made a carpaccio, and I've saved the leftover heads for the broth. Then you'll see what a wonderful broth we make. And of course, garlic and ñora. The ñora is something we can't miss here, especially in a good broth. Now comes the morala. The morala is what you need to remove from the intestines, as it leaves a bad taste in the fish. This doesn't cost much, you just need to remove it from the belly here. Try to use rockfish for the broth if you can. And if not, just do it like I do. Mix in the shrimp heads, and that's the only way to do it these days. Because of course rockfish is hard to come by, you see. This little fish is getting harder to find each time, although it's the best fish there is. This is a spider crab. The spider crab also adds a really nice flavor to the broth. But I always say, make sure to remove all the insides, okay? Let's give the vegetables a little turn so they get nice and golden. Once it's golden but not burnt, we'll add the rest. I usually add some little crabs as well, but today there weren't any at the market. So what I got are some small fish. So the small fish are what I add with the vegetables. And here we'll add the shrimp heads that, as I told you, I made a shrimp carpaccio yesterday and saved the heads for this, for the broth. And this gives an incredible flavor and strength with the little vegetables from the local area. The little red shrimp heads, shrimp from here, from the Gandia fish market. With the small fish, the little red shrimp, spectacular. And then the moralita, we're going to make a broth of fumet, spectacular. Look at that. Look at how it leaves the little shrimp in the broth. Look at that broth it leaves there. What I do is cook the crabs and the heads with the sautéed vegetables. I saute it a bit because that always adds a little more flavor. We don't just boil it. We give it a little sauté, and that will add a touch to the broth. Well, we almost have this ready. Now we're going to add a teaspoon of paprika. I usually don't use or like to use smoked paprika for seafood rice dishes. I prefer sweet paprika. Although, of course, there are also varieties of sweet smoked paprika from La Vera, but it's not a type of paprika that works for paellas. Well, now we'll add the water. I'm going to pour it in there upside down. Once it's sautéed, we'll add it to the water. Look at the color of the sauté. Just imagine how the broth is going to turn out. And now we'll add the raw fish, okay? Previously washed. And that's it. With this, we'll have enough to make our paella for 4, more than enough. As you've seen, super simple, super quick. Now we'll let this cook, and we'll move on to making the sauté for the paella. While the sauté is cooking, we'll have the broth almost ready. The broth, the really good thing about the broth is that when the water starts to boil, you let it go for about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, no more. Because otherwise it gets too strong a fish flavor, too overcooked. The important thing is to let it boil for about 15-20 minutes and then we take it out. Just boiling it more doesn't make the broth better. It's the opposite. What it does is create a flavor. The broth has gone too far when it boils too much, okay? Look at the color this is getting without doing anything else. Look at the color of the broth now. Oh, spectacular. Well, this is ready, and now we have been cooking for 20 minutes. Let's stop it and add it